It's Fabulous Friday, December the 18th, 2020, and welcome to the reading of the Record Courier. My name is Pam, and we will begin with the area deaths. Richard D. Fabry, known as Rick, 68, former Ravenna and Wyndham resident, passed away at his Florida vacation home on December the 8th. There will be no services held at this time. A celebration of life will be held at a later date. Mary Helen Holzheimer Fritz, known as Bunny, 77, of Aurora, Ohio, passed at her home after her battle with cancer. No services will be held. David L. Urich, age 81, of Westerville and formerly of Kent, passed away Saturday, December 12th, after a very long illness. Funeral mass to be held at St. Paul Catholic Church in Westerville, Ohio at 10:30 a.m. on December 21st. Robert Coy, age 92, of Deerfield, passed away at Canterbury Nursing Home on December the 16th. A graveside service will be held Saturday, December 19th at 2 p.m. at Edinburgh Cemetery. Well, friends, that concludes the death notices listed in today's online edition of the Record Courier. So let's begin with our first article. Portage to receive first COVID vaccines on Tuesday, by Bob Gagins. As COVID 19 cases continue to increase in a post Thanksgiving Day bump, health officials heralded the arrival of the first batch of Pfizer vaccines to Portage County. According to Dr. Joseph Diorio, Portage County's health commissioner, the case incidence in the county has increased a great deal since early November. At the beginning of November, our 7-day positive average was around 34 cases a day, he said. It was 120 this Monday. Portage County's COVID 19 Ohio Public Health Advisory System rating is now level 3 red, down from level 4 purple this past week. He said the county's positivity rate is 22% among those tested. On Tuesday, however, the county expects to receive its first doses of Pfizer vaccine. Portage County is estimated to get around 300 doses, says Diorio, adding the county could distribute it to group homes and EMS providers. The county would distribute it to group homes and EMS providers. Those 300 doses are in addition to however many are distributed to university hospitals, Portage Medical Centers, he added. Dr. Mark Arredondo, medical director for the Portage County Combined General Health District, described some of the possible side effects from the vaccine, but emphasized they are much less serious than a case of COVID 19. The message to you is that the COVID 19 vaccines are safe and effective, and we highly encourage you to be vaccinated, he said. All vaccines can cause side effects. The benefits of these for fighting disease far outweigh the risks of side effects. Side effects, which Arredondo said are not uncommon for vaccines in general, include pain at the injection site, fatigue, headaches, muscle pain, chills, joint pain, fever, diarrhea, and vomiting. Diorio said it's difficult to pinpoint when the Pfizer vaccine and others that are approved will become generally available. Our hope is to complete this vaccine campaign in 2021, he said. We certainly don't anticipate doing our rollout in 2022. According to the Centers for Disease Control, first doses should go to healthcare professionals and long-term care center residents and employees. The second phase of inoculations should be for essential workers, including educators, food and agricultural employees, utility companies, firefighters, if they don't provide EMS services, correction officers, and transportation workers. And a third phase will include adults with high risk medical conditions and adults aged 65 and over. Overall, the county saw an increase in cases this month, probably due to family gatherings at Thanksgiving. But Kent Health Commissioner Joan Seidel says there are not many cases coming from Kent State University, since students are home for the most part. The next bumps in cases will likely come from gatherings of families and friends around Christmas and New Year's, says Diorio. We're probably not going to see the effect of the holiday season until mid-January, says Diorio, asking residents to stay home as much as possible and limit gatherings. Ohio reported 117 additional deaths on Thursday as the state set a record for weekly fatalities among vulnerable nursing home residents. Governor Mike DeWine said the 2-day average of new cases for Wednesday and Thursday cases works out to 8,411 each day, a figure below the 3-week daily average of 10,164. The individual daily totals were inaccurate due to problems getting all the data. The jump in daily deaths, which typically includes some up to weeks old, increases December virus fatalities to 1,465, a record for monthly deaths. As of Thursday, Portage County was reporting a total of 6,138 positive cases, 330 hospitalizations, and 89 deaths. The Ohio Supreme Court vacates death sentence for man convicted of killing Kent State student, by Sean McDonald. The Ohio Supreme Court vacated the death penalty but reaffirmed the convictions of a man accused of killing a Kent State University student during a robbery in 2016. DeMonte Graham, who is now 23, was convicted in 2016 of shooting and killing Nicholas Massa, 18, who was visiting the apartment of a friend in Kent when it became the target of a robbery on February 7, 2016. Graham was sentenced to death and convicted of aggravated murder, aggravated robbery, aggravated burglary, and kidnapping, all with firearms specifications. Graham appealed his case in 2016, which went to the state's high court because he was on death row. Graham will be resentenced in Portage County on Thursday. The court announced that it was vacating Graham's death sentence. His conviction stands, and he'll be resentenced in Portage County Common Pleas Court. Graham, who was 19 at the time, was accused of helping 2 other teens rob the apartment. A person they knew in the apartment sold drugs and kept money in a lockbox, according to the court filing. According to court testimony, Massa was visiting the apartment when the 3 intruders robbed it with guns drawn. Graham is accused of shooting Massa while the other 2 searched the apartment for money. Graham's lawyer argued that legal mistakes were made during the sentencing phase of the trial, when factors were weighed that could have increased or decreased his punishment. Donald Galick, who represented Graham, along with Don Hicks, said they were hoping to also get a new trial for Graham, but were happy that the death sentence was vacated. Questions about potential bias. One argument pressed by defense lawyers in their appeal was that jurors may have been biased against Graham, who is black. Galick and Hicks alleged that several prospective jurors during the initial trial used racial slurs in conversation and on juror questionnaires. None of these prospective jurors ended up serving on the jury, but Galick said those remarks still may have tainted the process. He said comments from prospective jurors may have biased the jurors who ended up convicting Graham. The question of racial bias was brought up during the initial trial, but never fully dealt with, Galick said. The prosecutors in the case argued that an offhand comment cannot be the basis for an argument of race bias. The Ohio Supreme Court justices ruled that there needed to be more evidence for this claim to hold up. My personal belief is there was a lot of racist statements in the beginning that tainted the whole process, but the court didn't see it that way, Galick said. Galick said they may push some of these issues to the U.S. Supreme Court, but admitted the odds of the court looking at the case are slim. He said there are also post-conviction petitions in the case that could allow for more evidence to be brought forth. He's not directly involved in that filing. Galick said the court did not take the road he and Hicks argued for, but he's happy with their conclusion to vacate the death sentence. Norm is wrong. In the concurring opinion written on the case, Justice Michael P. Donnelly wrote that Graham's punishment was not proportional to others who had been convicted of the same crime. After review, he said he agreed that the death sentence was excessive. Donnelly wrote that his position is outside the norm, but the norm is wrong. He wrote that the Ohio Supreme Court had never reversed a death penalty on the grounds it was excessive or disproportionate compared to other past cases. But he wrote that Ohio has too many charges where a death penalty could be applied, and so reviewing cases to make sure convicts received proportional punishments was needed. He said a death penalty is not normally sought by prosecutors for a fatal shooting during a robbery. Donnelly wrote that he does not pity Graham and he does not want to diminish Mass's tragedy, but he insisted that the death penalty must be reserved for only the worst murder offenses. Dissenting opinion. A dissenting opinion written by Justice Sharon Kennedy said she agreed with upholding Graham's conviction but disagreed with vacating the death penalty. She wrote the decision set a new low bar for defendants on death row to overcome. Kennedy said the majority opinion put too much weight on Graham's troubled childhood and on his youth as a reason to not uphold the death penalty. Well, let's move on. Canton, Akron Goodwill groups get big donations from Mackenzie Scott. Goodwill Industries of Greater Cleveland and East Central Ohio and Goodwill Industries of Akron are getting a major financial boost, with philanthropist Mackenzie Scott donating millions to the nonprofits. Goodwill Industries of Greater Cleveland and East Central Ohio, which is based in Stark County, announced Thursday it has received a $10 million donation. The Akron-based Goodwill received $5 million. Scott, formerly married to Amazon CEO Jeff Bezos, is a novelist, billionaire, and venture philanthropist. We're humbled by this most generous donation from Mackenzie Scott, Goodwill Industries of Greater Cleveland and East Central Ohio President and CEO Ann Richards said in a statement. We couldn't accomplish our mission of preparing people for a variety of stable career options and, in turn, a more productive and sustainable way of life without the continued support and wonderful donors like Ms. Scott. This gift will enable us to make a positive impact on thousands of people within the communities we serve. Richards said Goodwill has not yet decided how it will use the donation, but the organization plans to reach out to various community partners and funders to ensure the money is spent in a way that is sustainable and creates the greatest impact for the community. We're going to be very thoughtful about it and make sure it's used for the best use we can come up with, Richards said. Goodwill Industries of Greater Cleveland and East Central Ohio serve 10 counties: Cuyahoga, Geauga, part of Lake, Stark, Tuscarawas, Carroll, Jefferson, and Harrison in Ohio, and Brooke and Hancock in West Virginia. The 102-year-old nonprofit has 27 different outreach programs. The Akron location serves Ashland, Medina, Portage, Richland, and Summit counties. The organization said in a news release that the donation is its single largest in its 94-year history. It is breathtaking, it is awesome, and we're truly honored. There aren't enough superlatives, Nancy Ellis McClanahan, president and CEO of the Akron Area Organization, said of Scott's donation. It is an extraordinary gift. We, like most organizations she selected, were not expecting this at all. 2020 has been a very difficult year, not just for our agency, but for everyone. In a news release, Chip Klupper, chair of the Akron organization's board of directors, said 2020 has been a year like no other. This gift comes at a time when millions of Americans urgently need help training for and finding their next jobs. The donations are part of nearly $6 billion Scott has donated in 2020 as part of a giving pledge she announced in 2019. The organizations were selected by Scott's team based on accomplishments and the needs in its service area. A team of advisors took a data-driven approach to identifying organizations with strong end results, with special attention to those operating in communities facing high projected food insecurities, high measures of racial inequality, high local poverty rates, and low access to philanthropic capital. Scott wrote in a post announcing the donations. The results over the last 4 months has been 4,158,500,000 in gifts in the 384 organizations across all 50 states. And me personally can't say enough about how thrilled I am that the Akron Goodwill got this wonderful $5 million donation, especially being a blessed and privileged part of their volunteer organization. Kent State develops a policy on painting the rock by Bob Gagins. The Rock on Hilltop Drive, just off East Main Street in Kent, has a decades-long history of serving as a forum for open expression. The rock goes back to the 1930s on our campus. It's been a fixture on our campus for a very long time, said Dr. Lamar Hilton, Kent State University Vice President of Student Affairs. It's always been painted by our student body for various causes and reasons. Students can continue painting the rock as they have for more than 80 years, but the university recently announced some rules associated with painting the rock. The policy is really to make sure we can maintain safety and that we can also ensure that folks know the intended use of that long-standing piece of history of our campus, said Hilton. The policy itself is not designed to restrict or limit free speech. Some of the rules for those interested in painting the rock include any painting on the rock will remain for at least 24 hours. Paintings should be dated and time-stamped. Individuals and/or organizations are encouraged to document their completed painting with a photo. The rock must be painted in totality. Partially painting the rock or painting comments on a previously painted rock is not permitted. And paintings that are obscene or depict or describe in a patently offensive way sexual conduct so as to lack serious literary, artistic, political, or scientific value are in violation of the university policies regarding unlawful discrimination and harassment, and/or are directed to inciting or producing imminent lawless action may be removed or painted over at any time. During September, several controversial messages were painted on the rock, and it was after those events undergraduate student government president Tiara Moore said some student groups began pushing for a policy governing the rock. She said the message painted on the rock that blacks have no home here was particularly offensive. That caused the biggest push for everyone wanting to do something on this, said Moore. That language is just unacceptable in any situation, in any place. Moore said she and other student leaders had a hand in creating the policy, which she hopes will at least dissuade people from painting discriminatory or offensive messages on the rock. I am happy with the result, said Moore. I know what we started with and the challenges we faced. I think we all came together and got something satisfactory. She also said security cameras installed by the rock this fall should help dissuade those intent on spreading messages of hate, harassment, or discrimination from painting the rock. Some of the rules are designed to limit conflict and therefore promote safety, said Hilton. We want to make sure it's a complete painting and that there is no room for folks to paint over or paint additional messages that are conflicting with the first one, he said. The rules also prohibit guarding, which the policy defines as actions by an individual for physically stopping or blocking others from painting the rock and/or interfering with others while in the process of painting the rock. Hilton said any violations by Kent State students or staff would result in discipline. The university also reserves the right to paint the rock at any time at the discretion of the Vice President for Student Affairs, that's Hilton or his designees. Determining what is obscene or patently offensive or otherwise violates discrimination or harassment rules will be a group effort, most likely involving a cadre of faculty, he added. There would be obviously a number of different staff who, once it's brought to our attention, would determine if a painting follows the spirit and letter of the policy, he explained, adding law enforcement could be involved in cases where discrimination or harassment may have occurred. It depends on whether what's painted there violates the law or just violates our university values. A fundraiser has been set up for Shalerville's crash victims. Similar tragedy befell the family in 2018 by Jeff Saunders. Even as authorities continue to investigate a single vehicle crash that killed 3 people and injured 5 others on Peck Road in Shalersville on Sunday, efforts are underway to raise money for the victims. Several GoFundMe accounts have been set up in connection with the crash. One is for the funeral expenses of Evangelina Ann Monteclavo, 13, at www.gofundme.com/F/Evangelina-Montecalvo-funeral. Nearly $13,000 has been raised towards a $15,000 goal as of Wednesday afternoon. Another is to help pay funeral expenses for Christine Shedd, 12, and medical expenses for her twin brothers Austin and Garrett, 14, at www.gofundme.com/F/raising-money-for-Shed-family-car-accident. Nearly $3,000 has been raised towards a $100,000 goal. The Ohio State Highway Patrol said it is believed a 2015 Chevrolet Silverado driven by Julianne Shedd, 41, of Ravenna, was traveling northbound on Peck Road at a high rate of speed when it failed to negotiate a curve at about 3:30 p.m. on Sunday. The truck went off the east side of the road and hit a tree, with the force of a crash causing severe structural damage to the truck and the ejection of 6 of the 8 occupants. Driver impairment and not using safety belts are believed to be factors in the crash, the patrol says. Patrol Sergeant Evan Mace said Wednesday that the patrol is still waiting for the results of blood toxicology tests on Shedd. Portage County Prosecutor Victor Vigliucci said Monday that his assistant, who went to the crash scene on Sunday, reported there was a large number of beer cans on the ground in the area, and photos of the crash scene also show what appear to be beer cans. Besides the 2 girls, Marlena J. Mullen, 22, was also killed. Julianne Shedd is the mother of Christine, Austin, Garrett, and Mullen. Brandon Krotzer, 15, of Ravenna, was taken to Akron Children's Hospital with life-threatening injuries. Garrett and Austin Shedd were taken to University Hospital's Cleveland Medical Center with serious injuries. Julianne Shedd was taken to UH Portage Medical Center with critical injuries, and her nephew, Matthew Glass, 19, of Ravenna, was taken to UH Portage Medical Center for minor injuries. Mace said that besides Glass, he believes that one of Shedd's twin sons has been released from the hospital. He said that a search warrant issued by Portage County Municipal Court in Ravenna on Tuesday was so that investigators could examine the Silverado, a necessary legal step once a vehicle in the crash is towed. A large number of comments have been posted on community Facebook pages in the wake of the crash. Sends condolences to all the family and friends. Prayers, wrote one poster. Prayers for everyone affected by this. This will go down as one of Portage's most tragic, wrote another. Bless the OSHP, wrote another. The next time you hear criticism of one, remember they are the ones that get there first and have to sort through the mess and give and get help. How devastating for them also. This is not the first traffic crash-related tragedy for the Shedd family. On May 23, 2018, Douglas Shedd, Julianne Shedd's 46-year-old husband, was killed while riding his motorcycle near the Windmill Lakes Golf Course on Route 14 in Ravenna. According to the Highway Patrol, Shedd was riding northwest when struck by a car driven by Suffield resident Michael P. Doherty, now 59, as it was making a left turn out of the golf course's driveway. Shedd was ejected from his motorcycle and died June 2nd from injuries in the crash. Doherty was allegedly driving drunk during the incident, but Judge Thomas Pokorny ordered a state trooper's field sobriety evidence suppressed due to questions about the breath test machine. The state appealed the ruling, but the appeals court sent the case back to trial court because a plea agreement was reached. Doherty was sentenced to 2 years in prison and a lifetime driver's license suspension in October of 2019. Due to the risk of COVID-19 in Ohio prisons at the time, Doherty was granted a judicial release this past April. Up next, Wednesday, Thursday, Kent tornado sirens, part of a monthly test, by Caitlin McGarvey. Tornado sirens heard in Kent both Wednesday and Thursday were just part of a semi-monthly test. According to the Kent Police Department, tests of the city's sirens are performed twice a month. During the Wednesday evening test, it was discovered that not all of the sirens were working properly. After some troubleshooting, the city performed another test the following day to make sure everything was okay. All sirens were found to be operational. The Flashes forced to postpone MAC opener against Akron due to COVID-19, by Alan Moff. The Kent State men's basketball team 2020-21 Mid-American Conference season opener against rival Akron, scheduled for Saturday afternoon at the MAC, has been postponed due to roster issues with the Kent State men's basketball team related to positive COVID-19 tests and subsequent contact tracing, according to a statement from the MAC office that was released Thursday morning. The rescheduled date has not yet been determined. The Golden Flashes men's basketball team, 3-1, has avoided COVID-19 related pauses this season until now. The Zips, 1-1, have been forced to pause twice. We have already missed 5 games to start the season, UA head coach John Gross said. We are disappointed, but we also realize this is the environment we're in right now. We've adopted the Marines' motto of improvise, adapt, and overcome as you have to. As I told Lauren Christian Jackson, our leader, today, I said, I'd like to be able to look you in the eye and tell you there's a pretty good chance this won't happen again the rest of the season. But I don't know if I can do that. This is just part of the times we're in. We'll do the best job we can to try to find another game that makes sense this weekend. But it has to make sense on a lot of fronts. We'll see what we can do. Flash's head coach Rob Senderoff was reached Thursday afternoon, but has been instructed by university officials to not comment. The Kent State women's basketball team also paused for 2 weeks just before the scheduled start of the 2020-21 season in late November. The Flashes football team's final 2 games of the 2020 regular season were canceled due to COVID-19 issues within the program. And now, Main Street Ravenna will host virtual Winter Riding Festival in February. On Saturdays in February, Main Street Ravenna is hosting a virtual version of its Winter Riding Festival. Main Street Ravenna and Reed Memorial Library will host riding workshops at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. on each Saturday in February. The workshops are free and open to children, teens, and adults. Registration will be required, and unique workshop links will be provided for each individual class via Zoom. The Teen Adult Community Writing Contest will feature the writing prompt, The Idea of Change. Find the prompt on the Main Street Ravenna website, www.mainstreetravenna.org/events, under Winter Writing Festival. Write a fictional short story, poem, or creative nonfiction essay up to 1,500 words using the prompt as inspired. Follow the directions on how and where to submit your entry. The winner will receive a $50 prize plus publication of his or her story. Sponsors include Eric Schleybaugh State Farm Insurance, Mike Tantamonia, Shorts, Spicer, Chris Flip Funeral Home of Ravenna, David Dix, Bill and Barry Beth Barber, and Ravenna City Schools. For more information, visit the website or call 330-235-9509. Friends, that concludes the reading of the Record Courier for Friday, December 18th. My name is PM. Thank you for allowing me to be in your home this afternoon. Please stay safe until we're here together again. Do what you can do to make it a great day.